that's 5.
Hello.
Boom, 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 boom. Happy Sunday, lovers.
And friends.
And friends.
And self-lovers.
Yeah. Happy Sunday, lovers and friends. Thank you for joining the Love Fest. It is the Love Fest. We are here to say Happy Lupercalia.
Happy Lupercalia.
Yes. Or to some of you folks, maybe it's just Happy Valentine's Day. That's right. Today is February 13th. Thank you for joining us. Sunday, February 13th, 2022, the 44th day of the year. 321 days left to make this your best year yet. Mm-hmm. And we have competition. We have competition because the Super Bowl is coming up in half an hour.
Oh, wow.
I wonder if we can get everything in half an hour so folks don't miss the kickoff. We'll see about that. It's funny because I didn't even know who was playing this year. It turns out, since I haven't been going into an office, since a lot of us haven't been going into an office, there was no water cooler conversation about the Rams and the Bengals.
And what kind of commercials are playing?
And what kind of commercials are going to be playing. But sure enough, the Rams and the Bengals are playing. So let's see how quick we can make this happen. We might run over a little bit, but nothing interesting happens in the Super Bowl until at least halftime anyway. So no worries. We do want to hear from you in the chat. Let's see. I've got up the YouTube chat. I've got up the Facebook chat. We are watching for your messages to come streaming in. Some of you may already be watching the pregame activities. Hopefully you've got us on out the corner of your eye there. Anyway, as I say, you've got 321 days left to make this your best year, 315 days until Christmas, 260, so not as many days until Halloween, but how many days until Valentine's Day?
One.
Yes, 2 days until Lupercalia and 1 day until Valentine's Day. So if you haven't already bought something for your Valentine's sweetie, I bought something for my Valentine's sweetie, but she's actually already opened it and eaten much of it.
Well, a little bit.
Oh, not much. Okay. Well, we presented the box of chocolates last week. Remember, we had the oversized box of Godiva chocolates. Those are, incidentally, mostly gone.
All right, look at this, guys.
Look at that.
It says...
Hapwai.
Valentine.
Amy Nasir. How sweet. How very sweet. Well, Hapwai Valentine, you folks. And I hope your Valentine's turns out equally just as sweet.
I might actually get into these. So you'll have to tell me in the chat which letter I should be eating here. Should I do an N maybe, or an A?
There's no letter U. I expected somebody to say eat you, but no, that's not there. So folks will figure out something clever anyway.
Chocolate ones here too. They smell so good.
Uh-oh. Oh my gosh.
What?
Our dear friend Bonnie is in the chat and she says, your competition is Leonard Peikoff and his just released video saluting the truckers. Now that I've got to see.
Does he honk his horn at him?
I'm sure he does honk his horn. No, I really want to see that. Now I've got to wait, of course. And so should you. You should wait until we're done here. And then, we can do the reveal together. We can all find out. It's interesting to see. I have posted about this. I've talked about it because it's a hot topic. Canadian truckers are doing a protest against the vaccine mandates. And it's got people split up a little bit. Are they doing something really, really cool, or are they really just violating everybody else's rights? Of course, the real answer is they're doing both.
Yay, let's violate rights. Woo!
Well, but let's also not let people tell us what we got to stick in our arms. So it's a challenge. I think the only answers are the complicated answers, but those are never fun because it's easier to pick a side. I'm going to be interested to see what Dr. Peikoff has got to say about that. I know on his side, he's also got C. Bradley Thompson, who has also been tweeting his support for the Canadian truckers. On the other hand, you've got Yaron Brook, who is sticking whole cloth to if they're violating rights, the protest isn't valid. I get that too. So that's cool. Thank you for that, Bonnie. I am looking forward to checking it out. Lauren, incidentally, in the meantime, says N. N for Nasir.
Yeah, N should be in
N for
in
all sorts of good things. Should be in your belly.
All right. Okay. I think I'm going to take the N from the end of Valentine.
So it'll be Valentine? Valentine? Okay. Otherwise, you'd be Amy Acer.
Right.
Oh, that's a good-looking N you got in your mouth there.
N's are delicious.
Well, excellent. Bonnie, again, thanks for the heads up on that. We will check that out after the show, but maybe before we check out the Super Bowl and see where they are at. Incidentally, one more thing. In case you haven't already bought your Valentine, or yourself if you don't have a Valentine, or yourself if you do have a Valentine, you do have another opportunity exactly 1 month after Valentine's Day. It's White Day. It's the day of retribution. No, the day of givebacks, and that is in 29 days. So you will have that other opportunity. It is also, as we talk about all things love today,
Yes.
happy 41st birthday to Luna Lovegood.
Luna Lovegood.
Luna Lovegood.
Oh, Luna.
So I guess technically she's Luna Scamander now.
Oh, right.
Nee Lovegood.
Because she married what, the grandson or son of Newt Scamander or something?
Yep. A witch and the only child and daughter of Xenophilius and Pandora Lovegood. Her mother accidentally died while experimenting with spells when Luna was 9, and Luna was raised by her father, editor of the magazine The Quibbler, in a rook-like house near the village of Ottery St. Catchpole in Devon.
I love that. Ottery St. Catchpole. I cannot wait to go to London, Robert, and say Ottery St. Catchpole.
It's funny because, of course, Luna Lovegood is a fictional character, although as Dumbledore would say, well, sure, but does that make it any less real?
Yes. So
Luna attended Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry 1992 to 99. Now, that's the strange part to me. How can Luna Lovegood, this character from these books we read when we were practically children of 40 years old, be 41 years old herself?
I know, 41.
So you've got the magic book of Harry Potter, A Magical
it's really
Year.
Nice. This is Harry Potter, A Magical Year. It's basically just an edited book with some really nice illustrations in it. And then it's basically a quote a day for... So today is Luna Lovegood's birthday, February 13th. You're not going mad or anything. I can see them too. Can you? Said Harry desperately, turning to Luna. He could see the bat-winged horses reflected in her wide, silvery eyes. Oh, yes, said Luna. I've been able to see them ever since my first day here. They've always pulled the carriages. Don't worry. You're just as sane as I am.
You're just as sane as I am.
And they were talking about the thestrals, the winged, kind of decrepit-looking horses that can only be seen if you've seen somebody die.
Yes. Well, when Luna Lovegood says, you're just as sane as I am, that's some reassurance there. And since we're talking about love on this good day, happy birthday to Peter Gabriel, who turns 72 years old today. Of course, the original lead singer of the band Genesis, right up until just before the album, and then there were 3, turned 72 years old today. Of course, Peter Gabriel of hit songs like Sledgehammer and Salisbury Hill. Today, I'm especially celebrating in my heart, and earlier watching, and you will too, his live performance of In Your Eyes. There is a performance of this song, 10 minutes long, from one of his concert films. The link is in the show notes that I'll post right after the show. You have got to give that performance a watch. First of all, the song In Your Eyes always gets me. I get choked up every time I hear it, no matter how many times I hear it. And this performance does it justice. But also, again, it's a 10-minute long video clip. I think the song part is 9 minutes long. And the band is amazing. And it's in the round. If you're familiar with the band, yes, you know concerts in the round. Great band. There's probably 10, 12 musicians on stage. It's choreographed, and yet it's natural. It's not like a big Britney Spears type dance or something. It's just all natural. I didn't realize Peter Gabriel had these kind of just smooth moves. It's not crazy, just the swaying and you've got to see it. And 2 musicians a note. Not only is Tony Levin one of the world's greatest bass players there, also played on Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe, again for you Yes fans, but also the first time I have ever seen a double-necked, you rock and rollers are like double-necked guitar? No, a double-necked violin.
Ooh.
So you've got to check that clip out. It is in the show notes.
Like violin and viola?
It looked, they look to be the same scale length, so I'm guessing they were simply tuned differently for different purposes. Don't know the whole story on it. I will investigate. But either way, you've got to see that video. Watch it after the show. It's in the show notes. So good. Also on this date and related to that, Peter Gabriel, great musician, great songs, Genesis, solo. He's also a millionaire, a multimillionaire. Why is he a multimillionaire? We talked last week about Phil Collins being the 5th richest drummer, wealthiest drummer in the world. Part of the answer is the American Society for Composers, Artists, and composers. How could I forget that? I have quoted this so many times. That is so silly. The American Society of Composers, Authors,
Yes.
and Publish Ascap. We all know Ascap and BMI. They're quoted in that Queen song, Let Me Entertain You. With Ascap and BMI, we'll show you where it's at. Ascap was founded on this date in 1914. Quote, if music did not pay, it would be given up. Unquote. So wrote Associate Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes in a landmark Supreme Court decision in 1917. And Holmes wasn't referring to the musicians themselves in that statement, but to places of business in which copyrighted works could be heard, whether such music was live or recorded. Here we go. Among the founding members of ASCAP, again, the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers, among the founding members of ASCAP were the musical giants of the day, Irving Berlin, Jerome Kern, John Philip Sousa. Now, as an amateur musician, an amateur avant-garage guitar player, Amy, of course, being a performing bass player and drummer, we have had to deal with ASCAP.
Yeah, we have.
ASCAP and BMI. Because when you play small clubs, they are the ones who have to pay the annual fees to ASCAP. And if you play a shop, a coffee shop, or someplace that hasn't paid their ASCAP fees, you are liable to pay those fees. And, you know, as kids and as garage rock musicians, it always seemed like kind of a nuisance. And it's only as I've gotten older that I've come to respect intellectual property rights.
Very much so.
So now I'm finally old enough that I can say I respect ASCAP. And it's especially nice to read the story of the creation of ASCAP. There's a link in the show notes. And how the founding members, again, included John Philip Sousa and Jerome Kern and Irving Berlin and these composers, these songwriters who we have enormous respect for. So happy birthday to ASCAP. And that's kind of cool. It is also Get a Different Name Day. This was fun. The last couple of weeks we've talked about what happened on this day, and we had a bit of a dearth of interesting things. Today I have too many. I'm going to cover this real quick. It is Get a Different Name Day, created by Ruth and Tom Roy as a fun holiday. On this day, we may change our names to whatever we wish and have the right, here's the good part, and have the right to expect colleagues, family, and friends to so address us. I wonder how that worked out. I don't know. I think that might have been pushing it, but it was amusing to me because I've been there. I've actually changed my name. I haven't changed it legally, but I grew up in a household of 3 Roberts.
Yes.
My stepfather, my stepbrother were both named Robert, and still are, and I was named Robert. So folks have sometimes said, "Hey, Bob." I said, no, don't call me Bob. That's my stepfather's name. Hey, Rob. No. Rob is my stepbrother. So if anybody wonders, why does Robert seem to have nicknameophobia? Well, it's because I grew up in the... But also, and this is another fun fact, well, it's fun to me. I don't know if it is to anybody else, but my first job in electronics. This was back in the fast food years. People know I spent 16 years in fast food before finally breaking into electronics and IT. But my first electronics job, in the middle of the fast food years, I took a year off to install cash registers and networking equipment in fast food restaurants and joined a team. There were 3 of us on the team. There was another guy named Robert. And he actually went by Robert, not Bob or Bobby or Robbie or any of those other goofy Robert names. No. And so I spent a year, because I volunteered, I said, well, just call me by my middle name. And actually spent a year being called Chris Nasir. And it's funny Chris, because even though it was my idea of, well, just call me Chris so you don't confuse the two of us.
You kind of look like a Chris, actually.
It's funny because it took me maybe a month to get used to it. when people would say, "Hey, Chris," and it would take me, not a noticeable amount of time, but a split second to say, "Oh yeah, they're talking to me." But after a year, you get used to it, and you start thinking of myself as Chris Nasir, at least at work. So that was great fun. It is Get a Different Name Day. If you want to try on a different name, you do it. And you make everybody use that name, damn it.
Yeah, if you're Kanye West, you can say, "Call me Ye, not Kanye."
Yes, you just told me about that. I guess Kanye wants to be called Ye?
Yay.
Yay, like yeah.
Or,
Y-E, yee, yay, Kanye, yay.
So
yay,
if
yay.
anybody wants to put in the chat, if you could change your name, what would it be?
What would your name be? What should we call it? We've got a couple people who, of course, go by other names in the chat or on the YouTube, and that's good fun, too.
Yeah, I think for me, if I were to change my name, it might be Cordelia or something like that.
Yes. I think Sierra Arnold in the YouTube chat goes by another name. I'm kidding, of course. Anytime you see in our chat or anybody else's chat, VOM dot something, this vom dot red, it's spam. Don't click it. Actually, you can't click it because of the way they have to type it. It will just take you to a website of an adult nature. And in that regard, since it is the week of Lupercalia and Valentine's Day, it's also International Condom Day today.
Huh. Excellent.
Yeah. Smoke them if you got them. So this is a day to celebrate international condoms.
Yeah, this is, it's nice. It's actually really good because that really cheeses off the Catholic Church, and that's always a good thing.
There was a time when the Catholic Church considered wearing, as the British would say, condoms to be a violation of the prohibition against birth control.
Right.
I'm sure there are still strict Catholics who consider it to be that. Although nowadays, most of the reasonable ones think it's a way to cut down on the number of those darned abortions.
Well, you have to allow Jesus in the bedroom. That's what you got to do.
You are never alone in your bedroom. Oh, don't get me started on some of the marriage ceremonies I've heard that make me want to run screaming from the chapel. But yes, it is International Condom Day. Now, you've told the story back when you were in high school. I think you were an advocate of prophylaxis.
So what I did was because I was a punk rocker, I think this was my senior year in high school. Not that I considered myself a senior in high school. I considered myself a prisoner in high school, actually. But I did have some really nice teachers, and a lot of them knew me, and they kind of looked away from my shenanigans. I never got in trouble because I was super nice and such a good student, so smart, right? So I was a punk rocker. So what I did was I bought a whole bunch of condoms, and I put little heart-shaped construction papers on them. With little sayings on them taped to them, and I would give them away. So
what kind of sayings would you have put on these condoms you were giving away?
My favorite saying at the time was a song title by Richard Hell and the Voidoids. And the song is called Love Comes in Spurts. And that's C-U-M-S for anybody who's wondering.
That's how to celebrate Valentine's Day.
Yeah, so, I thought, safe sex and all of that to make sure that, those teenage girls, that they don't get pregnant and drop out of school, stay in school, or I should say, keep learning, keep reading books, please. So
Yikes.
That's what I did.
I was willing to try safe sex, but I've never worked in a bank. But Petya in the chat says, February 14th celebrated the memory of Constant Cyril the philosopher, one of the two creators of the Bulgarian alphabet. Now, more than 300,000 people are using it, including Bulgarians and Russians, and Cyril the philosopher is given sainthood and buried in the Vatican. We will talk about different ways to celebrate Valentine's, absolutely, so thank you for that. It is also World Marriage Day.
Aha.
The funny thing about World Marriage Day, and the reason I mention it now is because this was an idea of the Catholic Church.
I was going to say that. Who founded that? The Catholic Church?
There you go. See, you saw right where that was going, didn't you?
Saw right through that.
Oh, well. I thought I was going to slip one past you there.
Oh, bless their hearts.
But I'm a big fan of marriage. I like marriage. I like being married. I like when people get married.
Yes,
and the reason I have to celebrate World Marriage Day is because, and we have to talk about this.
We're going to have the talk? Let's have the talk.
I can't resist making something silly sound ominous. This is important. No, actually, I am traveling this week.
Oh, yes, you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
After we wrap up this show, we will have a pleasant Sunday night. Tomorrow will be Valentine's Day, the 14th of the month.
I'm taking Robert out.
And Amy's taking me out,
Yes.
so to speak.
On a date.
Yes. Just like that song we talked about.
That's right, by Luther Vandross.
The day after that is Lupercalia, which we'll talk about in a moment. But then I'm getting on an airplane. I'm leaving on a jet plane, and I am out of town. I will be gone. And what that means is that on Thursday for Life on Earth, I won't be here for the usual Thursday podcast.
Well, you'll be on Earth, but you'll be
that's
in
a good
a different
point.
area of Earth.
Because I will be attending what? A marriage ceremony. So it is World Marriage Day. I wish good luck to the coming nuptials of the nephew who is getting married this coming Thursday, and I will be back by next Sunday, so worry not about that. Let not your hearts be troubled at all. Finally, one more, and this is also related, although a little bit orthogonally. On this date in 1633, so just 389 years ago today, the Italian philosopher, astronomer, and mathematician, see, Petya mentioned the Bulgarian philosopher, the Italian philosopher, astronomer, and mathematician Galileo Galilei arrived in Rome to face charges of heresy. So Galileo went before the Catholic Church, who said, "You have been teaching things that contradict what the Bible says
Right.
about the nature of the solar system and the universe." And Galileo, of course, said, "I follow the evidence where it leads." And what could be more pious than that? To use your eyes in the ways that they were designed for what they were intended for. Somehow, the Catholic Church didn't see it that way. And Galileo was placed under house arrest. Now, he had a nice villa, but that doesn't count for much when you are placed under house arrest for the rest of your life. When we talk about the Canadian truckers and the vaccine mandates and income taxes, incidentally, I just did my income tax calculations last night and then went looking for a noose. And when we talk about the impositions of the state on us and the way in which all of our freedoms are under assault,
Yeah.
they are substantial and they are worthy of outrage.
Yeah, there's so much thieving. Oh my gosh.
There are so many reasons to be angry. But what I warn against is being hyperbolic, exaggerating. Because when you do that, you actually lessen your effectiveness at fighting those things. I think we are better advocates of liberty when we don't try to claim that things are, right now in 2022, as bad as or worse than they were at the time of the Revolutionary War. Or 150 years before that, at the time in which Galileo was condemned to house arrest simply for saying, maybe the Earth isn't at the center of the solar system. Maybe the Earth revolves around the sun.
Heresy.
Heresy.
Yep.
Because in connection with that, why do I get into the optimism kick? Oh, things are better than they used to be. Well, here's the thing. What have we been listening to this week? Well, one of the things I've been listening to, of the two that I have got to mention, Yaron Brook did another Rules for Life, Yaron's Rules for Life, number 13 on the 10th of the month, February 10th. And the title was, the subject was, the title of the episode, Being Optimist in a Crazy World. Now, despite the strange grammar, I thought it should have been Being Optimistic in a Crazy World, or Being an Optimist in a Crazy World, but either way, great episode, a must-see. You should absolutely watch it. Link is in the show notes so that you will watch it. Being an Optimist or Being Optimist in a Crazy World. Yaron's Rules for Life, number 13. Yaron gets it. A third, maybe halfway through the show, he sounded like that guy in my bathroom mirror every morning. He was talking the optimism. He was saying, look, there are all sorts of things we got to fight. There are all sorts of things that are wrong. But we're generally free. And we generally are surrounded by opportunity. You can do with your life, no matter who you are, barring some really unusual misfortune, you can do whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. You can have whatever you want. You have enormous opportunities. Nobody tells, and I'm now breaking away from what Yaron said, but nobody tells you where you have to go in the morning. This is not like a communist country where you're told what your profession will be, or once you're in your profession, where you have to go do that work. No, I could work anywhere I want. In fact, I could like turn 55 and decide to just stop working and live off my savings and do a crazy podcast and write a book. You could do anything. So definitely recommended. Yaron's Rules for Life, number 13, Being Optimist in a Crazy World.
Mm-hmm. Well, now we do have quite a bit of comments here.
Good.
So, first of all, let me clear this up here. So, Jim on Facebook asks, "What about those condoms?"
Yes.
So, yeah, it was in high school that I handed them out. And what were some of the reactions when I did? Actually, I got a lot of positive reactions. This was the late 80s.
Was it more amusement, or was it more, oh, thanks, I was looking for some?
Both.
Both. Okay, good.
And the thing is that, I think I didn't bring 1,000 condoms with me, but,
I'm sure you were somewhat selective there.
Yeah, I was somewhat selective. I didn't go up to the teachers and say, "Would you like some condoms?"
Now, that would have been kind of cool.
Go to the principal and give him a heart attack. But
you could go to people you don't like and say, "Give these to your parents. Tell them to stop."
So, no, it was actually very jovial, and people kind of knew me, and they knew where I was coming from. So, people's reaction to me in high school was either very severely negative, usually coming from people in sports, the jocks, as they called them.
Jocks did not like punks, not in my school either.
No. And the other reactions were pretty positive, and I actually got a lot of positive reactions from a lot of the teachers, and a lot of teachers really helped me out, gave me some different viewpoints in life, which I'm very grateful for. And as a matter of fact, it was my French teacher who introduced me to Ayn Rand in the first place when I was 16. And then my other French teacher, she actually helped me out in a time when I was really needing it, and on a personal basis. So I'm very grateful to them. We have.
Incidentally, since you brought it up again, I was going to say, and then I decided I shouldn't say, but if anybody's wondering, Robert, are condoms an issue for you? You're not old enough to have children, and I assume safe sex isn't an issue. Everybody should celebrate National Condom Day. There are things you can do if you have access to condoms that you might not do in any other situation. And I'm not going to specify what they are. I'm going to encourage you to use your imagination and think, even if I'm an older person and it's not an issue, well, you just think about that. Also, I have to say, shout out to our Thursday show from last Thursday. I said next Thursday will be interesting because I won't be around. I was around last Thursday. And who did we talk to on Thursday on Life on Earth?
We talked with Amesh Adalja, one of my favorite people.
We talked to Amesh Adalja, and it was a personal conversation. We talked a little bit about COVID, but no, it was mostly everything. Everybody talks to Amesh about COVID. Yeah. We talked about everything else, but we did have a comment come up in the chat.
Yes.
And I think it was a super chat, so we had to read it, And it was, what do you think is going on in London with the Prince and somebody else's
and Kate Middleton?
They're pushing everybody to get HIV tests. What's that all about?
It's a big publicized sort of thing, message, a PSA.
And they seem to think that was a bit of a state imposition, that they would be encouraging that. And Amesh pointed out that, well, there's a bit of an HIV issue in London, or in England, and in particular, it's estimated that 15% of the people who are infected right now are not aware that they're infected.
Yes.
And there's a spread issue. So they're saying, well, just if you're at risk, if you're the kind of person who's at risk, whether it's because you're a member of the homosexual community or you're using drug needle, intravenous injections, whatever the vectors are that people are like, just get a test. Oh, yeah, it's not a big deal. Just go get a test. Say, well, okay, I'm good with that. Nobody's making anybody do it. So I don't have a problem with that.
Let's see. Jim gives a shout out to saying more people need to read Voltaire's Candide.
Candide, absolutely.
Yep. And he also says, "You're right, Robert." Isn't that a nice ring to it? You're right, Robert.
I like the sound of that. Something like that. That just sounds right to me.
About irrational perspective versus
hyperbole or hyperbole.
Hyperbole.
And, yes, absolutely.
And then Petia says, let's see, she's going back to something about the Bulgarian Tsar on to both brothers Cyril and Metidius. Cyril was educated in the famous
Magnar School.
Yeah, Magnar School.
And they were able to educate about 200 students in various monasteries to preach on the Bulgarian language, the Christian faith. Well, anything that improves the teaching of language, I'm good for.
Right.
So I can deal with that.
Yeah, and then over in the YouTube chat.
Yes.
So if you're on Facebook right now, please go over to YouTube and give us a like. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed.
Yeah, we're trying to get our YouTube numbers up. Go over to YouTube. Make that happen. You don't necessarily have to switch. You can run them both. But either way.
So Seamus is he actually told me that he changed his name recently, his last name actually, and he was called Riley as a kid and liked the signature. So his name is Seamus Riley. That's really lovely. That's a good name. And when I was talking about being a prisoner in school, Bonnie
prisoner
says,
of grade school.
Bonnie said, walking to Catholic school towards the end of kindergarten. Kindergarten. I thought I have to go through 12 more years of this.
Oh.
And
yes.
I
the horror that was grade school. Oh my gosh. Public school was no treat either. Let me assure you that you didn't miss anything there.
As a matter of fact, I did read Candide in high school.
Oh, yeah.
So I loved Voltaire.
Well, as Jim suggests, if everybody would read Candide, this would be the best of all possible worlds.
Right. But you should read Voltaire's other works as well. So Zadig and the collections of his other works. So, but now look at this. I am wearing this beautiful robe. It's such a beautiful robe.
Why are you wearing this furry, fleecy, luxurious, deep red house coat?
I number one, it is kind of lovey-dovey. I don't know. I felt that way, and also it's snowing outside.
It is snowing,
and
something fierce.
I just felt that it would be a lovely, cozy gesture, considering the snow. So,
well, if you were a man in ancient pagan times, you would be wearing animal pelts from animals that had recently been sacrificed and
like
very
this?
little else. So, there you go. You are ready. You are ready for Lupercalia. That's right. This week we celebrate Lupercalia, this February 15th. See, there's a little holiday that you might not have heard of called Valentine's Day on the 14th.
Yes. That St. Valentine Day guy, right? I mean, he died or something like that. And they're like, let's have a feast and eat a lot and then be sad.
So we know historically that much of what we celebrate on Valentine's Day was borrowed from the feast of St. Valentine. But lately people are looking at this earlier holiday, earlier Roman pagan holiday, Lupercalia, and realizing some of our traditions also flowed from that. Lupercalia was an ancient pagan festival held each year in Rome on February 15th. Unlike Valentine's Day, however, Lupercalia was a bloody, violent, and sexually charged celebration awash with animal sacrifice, random matchmaking, and coupling in the hopes of warding off evil spirits and infertility. Now, of course, I see that and I'm like, I got to find out what that's all about. According to Roman legend, the ancient king Amulius ordered Romulus and Remus, his twin nephews and the founders of Rome, to be thrown into the Tiber River to drown in retribution for their mother's broken vow of celibacy. That's harsh.
On.
Kill the kids because mom did something wrong?
It's terrible.
A servant took pity on them. See, it takes a servant to provide the necessary wisdom in this case. A servant took pity on them, however, and placed them inside a basket on the river instead. The river god... Well, this story was making sense until then. The river god carried the basket and the brothers downriver to a wild fig tree, where it became caught in the branches. The brothers were then rescued and cared for by a she-wolf
Of course.
in a den at the base of Palatine Hill, where Rome was founded. Now, the twins were later adopted by a shepherd and his wife, and they learned their father's trade. After killing the uncle who'd ordered their death, see, they couldn't let it go. It would be such a nice story if they just let it go, but no. After killing the uncle who'd ordered their death, I guess that's justice, not vengeance. They found the cave den of the she-wolf who nurtured them and named it Lupercalia. Now that sounds all nice and everything, but how do they celebrate the festival then? Feasting began after the ritual sacrifice. The ritual sacrifice? Well, what they did is they sacrificed a... Why do they have to sacrifice a goat? What does that got to do with this?
I know.
It's to celebrate somehow or connect to the she-wolf, which presumably would have appreciated a goat, I guess. But here's what they would do. They would take the goat hide and cut strips or thongs or februa.
Like this.
Same root word as February.
Except it's not quite goat.
Yeah, see how it's all coming together. And what would they do after preparing these thongs from the animal skins?
They didn't wear them between their cheeks, their butt cheeks, did they?
They then ran naked, or nearly naked. They ran around Palatine, whipping any woman within striking distance with the thongs. Yes, just like that.
Or I could whip myself. Why would I do this? Why?
This is looking a lot like traditional Valentine's Day, at least as I celebrate it. During Lupercalia, the men randomly chose a woman's name from a jar to be coupled with for the duration of the festival.
Ooh, sounds like something out of Anthem.
They're
Ugh.
coupled with them. Did that involve coupling? Often, the couple stayed together until the following year's festival. Many fell in love and married.
Well, maybe it's just sort of like spin the bottle kind of thing, right?
Over time. Well, according to the history I'm reading here, over time, nakedness during the Lupercalia lost popularity.
Aw, man.
Because what, everybody got older and they didn't want to see them naked? I resemble that remark. The festival became more chaste, if still undignified, and women were whipped on their hands and by fully clothed men. Huh. Well, I think women should be chaste, and chaste often.
Well, yeah, Pope Galatius outlawed Lupercalia. Yeah. But the thing is it didn't really get rid of it for a while there. So it stayed on, like, most of those sorts of things do.
Yes.
But even, I think even in the Roman times, they were doing it every year, and then they all kind of like thought, why are we doing this? What's the significance of this? And there's the story about, Remus and Romulus and the she-wolf and la la la, but
Yes.
but why run around? And you couldn't run around the town clockwise. You had to do it counterclockwise.
Darn right.
Because reasons.
Reasons. Can't argue with reasons.
So, yeah, so it sounds like definitely, it's a fertility festival. It's the coming of spring. It's anticipation of that, the whole idea of like, well, we can't just all sit around and not procreate. We better get busy, right?
Right.
So, and let's have some goat meat.
And if you can't procreate, amateur create. Again, we're just loving the different ways in which Valentine's comes together and these different traditions that fed into it. Because I think that Valentine's shouldn't be a day, it should be a season. I've said this before. Valentine's Day isn't just a day. Just like Christmas isn't just a day. You don't decorate your house on Christmas Eve and take everything down on the 26th. So Valentine's should be a season as well. Personally, I recommend my own Secrets of a Successful Marriage, which we've talked about on the program before, and I've got links in the show notes both to our episode on marriage and my posts on 5 secrets of a successful marriage, including such classics as the answer is always yes, especially if she asks for, well, anything. I was about to say a foot rub, but that's just because that's a common request by some women.
Gal.
The answer is always yes. But no, secrets of a successful marriage, posted on Facebook, links in the show notes. Now, I'm not assigning specific homework this week. And here's why. Because of marriage. Because I am traveling to attend a marriage. So I'm just going to keep working on the homework assignments. I've already got everything we've talked about before. All of our 5 stages of planning, organizing, habits, routines, all that good stuff that I'm working on. Gratitude exercises at the end of each day. I do have a post-it note of the week, though, to go with the holiday. And it's on one of those big 3x3 pads. Those of you watching the video version of this can see what it says, and you know who said it. To say I love you, one must first know how to say the I. I love you.
Yes.
It's not much of a compliment to say I love you, unless the I really means something.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, and then it does. And then you get that 60s swing, and you start thinking, this guy's in love, and
then
it means something.
Then you get out the goat skins.
And you start whipping your potential mate with the thong.
And as Jim in the chat says, whip it good, Devo.
That's right. Who could deny such important advice?
Nobody.
So good. So good. So yes, I am traveling out of state, so I am going to encourage everybody to celebrate Valentine's season and have a loverly Lupercalia.
Yes.
Lupercalia. I'm thinking it's maybe that's where it's supercalifragilistic, Lupercalia, agilistic, expialidocious. Maybe that's where that came from too.
I think so. That's Tuesday. So I think Robert and I, Robert, we can go outside, take a walk, and we can go around the block counterclockwise.
As one does.
And we can kind of run, but we're not going to even be close to undressing because it's like...
Well, I wonder...
Like 15 degrees out.
I wonder just how little we could wear and make it around the block.
I don't know if we could make it around the block.
I don't know.
We could go out in our bathing suits, perhaps.
Yeah, I was thinking of a pair of boxers.
Yeah. And
nothing that'll get us arrested, but something that will get us in the spirit of the season.
Whip me with my fake
I'll get you with the thong there. Thong. Nothing fake about that. Well, it's not really goat, but it is it's whatever it is you would go.
It's from an acrylic beast.
Yes. How many wild acrylics were killed? How many polyesters were killed in the making of that thong?
Right.
Either way, it will get the job done. So, with that said, if you have missed the beginning of the Super Bowl, I apologize again because we weren't in the office. I didn't even realize it was Super Bowl Sunday until I looked up. Well, what's happening today on Sunday, February 13th? Oh, it's Super Bowl Sunday. So those of you who are into the game, enjoy the game. Bonnie, thank you. I'm going to look for that Leonard Peikoff post that you mentioned where he talks about the Canadian truckers.
Yeah, I've got it up right here.
As you know, I have a kind of nuanced perspective on it. Amy, of course, is all...
I'm not all. No, I'm just...
Oh, I see that that Amy Peikoff is there with the title Leonard Peikoff Salutes the Truckers. Okay.
Yeah.
This may actually be an Amy Peikoff post, so you'll see it on her YouTube channel, Don't Let It Go.
Right.
And she has certainly been on the Canadian truckers side, so I'm not surprised if Leonard had something to say about it, that she's talking about it too. Again, right after the show, I will take a look at that. Right after our show, you should look at the show notes. All sorts of good show notes about everything, including the quirky stuff and the serious stuff we have discussed. And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, guys. This has been lovely.
I have a special favor to ask for you. If you're not already on our YouTube channel, go to the YouTube channel after the show. The link is in the show notes. Go to our YouTube channel. I have a video. It's about 25 seconds long. And it's a 4-frame video of me playing a goofy song. And I need you to, well, if you like it, or even if you just want to make me happy, give it a like. And the reason is I need to get the view count of that video up over 100. And I want to see how quickly I can do that. So spread the word, share it on your socials, tell everybody, here's a crazy music video this guy did. Give it a like.
Yeah, this is from 8 days ago, right?
Yes, the title on it is Yuk Fu for one-stringed guitar.
Oh, I just liked it.
And thank you. And it's a video of me playing something on a guitar with only one string on it. And there's a quirky story behind it. I may have put it in the show notes. I just want to get those counts up. If you, and I mean you listening right now, whether it's live or you're listening later on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, if you're listening to us on Spotify, hi Joe Rogan, he's in the room right next door because we're all of us Spotify people are in the same building, right? If you're listening wherever you're listening, youtube.com/Robert Nasir, look for a track called Yuk Fu for one-stringed guitar. Give it a like. That will be your Valentine's present to me, and I will be so grateful for that. Additional gratitude and thanks goes to everybody who is supporting the show on Patreon and single-time supporters through PayPal. You can find links to our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/Robert Nasir, at robertnasir.com. You can get there either way. Thank you to those of you who have supported the show or are still supporting the show. We've had a couple people join in recently, and that is greatly appreciated, including those of you with the quirky handle, you know who you are. Thank you for that. We will be back next Sunday because I will be back in town, back here in Motown by Friday or so, assuming I make it back safely and there aren't any surprises coming back from Arizona. And we will be back next Sunday for another episode at 6 p.m.
Hooray!
But in the meantime, if any of you are friends with Amy on the social networks and you know who you are, make sure you keep her extra company while I'm gone.
Please do.
We have all sorts of fun on Facebook, don't we? And in the meantime, I'm ready. I'm ready for Valentine's Day. I'm ready for Lupercalia. I am ready for sweets and treats and the other things that we only talked about on episode 69. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon. As always, we wish you success. We wish you happiness. We wish you romance, whether it's the romance of whipping somebody with a wild animal hide or something a little sweeter like petit fours from Swiss Colony. Because, as always, we wish you